Welcome to Scrollin', episode 98. I'm Ket. Joining me, as always, Davius Starjumper. What's going on, man?
It's going good. Been doing a lot of BGs with a lot of goons.
We sure have been, man. A ton of BGs. That's like basically all I've been doing with my free time here lately.
Yeah, BGs and goons.
BGs and goons. Well, there's already an episode title.
Well,
BGs
shoot. Hit that one.
and goons.
Hit that one quick.
Yep. We're hitting them early.
But it's been great, man.
It has been, dude. It's been awesome. We'll just get right into some PvP talk right off the bat. So we're 2 weeks into this update 37 patch. We have a pretty clear picture of how the meta is shaping up. Usually these patches, it usually goes in like 2 or maybe even 3 phases as far as like how the meta evolves, right? So we're kind of at phase 1 right now, and then kind of a counter to this meta will emerge later on. We'll see how that goes. So we're just kind of getting a clear picture of what phase 1 looks like here. Looking pretty good. I mean, the BGs have been awesome lately, right?
Yeah, they've been fantastic. I mean, great meta, I would even say. Like, feels good. I mean, even the sweaty matches feel competitive. Just all good things.
I think we were kind of saying a similar thing maybe like last summer, like before update 35 and all the like Warden stuff and the Templar nerfs and all that stuff started happening. We kind of had a little 3-month period there where we were kind of saying the same thing, like, man, BGs are nice right now.
Yeah, real sweet spot. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't that long ago. So we've kind of come back, you know, the CC situation really is cleared up. You know, we were kind of waiting and seeing on that to see if it really is better, but it really is. It really is way better. Damage is up too. It seems like more people are like building for damage. Like there are those incentives. You know, Major Berserk is out there. Mara's Balm was nerfed, so just fewer people are wanting to use that. You know, it seems like more people are just kind of trying to build for damage, which is always good.
Absolutely, I would say that the trend has CC down and then damage is up, and there's and I think that's the reason for that is that you get rewarded for that damage now. Like the tankiness is down just enough to where people are kind of really, tightening up that damage levels to a higher level, and they're getting rewarded for it now.
Yeah, it's just like those incentives are there. I feel like whenever changes are made in the patch notes, players take that as a cue of like, oh, I'm supposed to use this now. Wrecking Blow has Major Berserk. Okay, I'm supposed to use Wrecking Blow now. It just kind of happened. Just because it was buffed, that's what people are going to do. So that's great. I like seeing like a meta that incentivizes high damage, but it's not like an intensely volatile environment though. Like if you want to be a really survivable, tanky kind of build, it's still totally possible.
Yeah, I would even say one of the things that I really like is that even on a team that is extremely tanky and extremely difficult to take down, it's not, I feel like it wasn't that long ago that it was just 4 damage dealers. Like it wasn't a dedicated healer. It was 4 damage dealers all kind of healing each other and keeping each other tanky, and you just couldn't take them down. And that just kind of rolls into kind of a mess. But right now, if you've got a team that is really tanky, like it actually requires kind of a dedicated healer, and then they're going to have some damage dealers. So I just feel like it's a cleaner team comp we're seeing in BGs. Like you can't have a squad of just 4 impenetrable players now. If you're gonna actually try to get into a group comp and you want to be tanky, you need that dedicated healer again, which I actually think is good.
Yeah, you do need that healer that is like just totally solely focused on fortifying the team as much as possible, and you need your damage dealers to be cranking the damage. There's no room for heals for those guys.
Well, and that's a great point too, is that another good sign of a good meta is that if you have just heals, those damage dealers will eventually wear you out and get that kill. And I think that's like that's the sweet spot, is that if you don't have the damage to match another team, that eventually they're gonna break through the heals if you don't have the damage and kind of finish you off. And so it's right at that sweet spot.
Yeah, it really is, guys. Just like I'm telling you, if you haven't yet, just log in, jump into some BGs. It's a really great time. Dragon Knights and Wardens are still pretty much the predominant classes that you see. I would say DKs have kind of inched their way to the number 1 spot as far as popularity goes. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. And just what you said, Warden's still really popular, but going back to, it sounds like I'm singing praises here, but one of the good things about the meta is that I don't, I see a lot of DKs, I see a lot of Wardens, but when I'm seeing them in matches, I'm not coming away from the match just saying that this specific class or this type of specific class is just completely OP.
Yeah.
I've seen really successful Nightblades. There's successful Sorks out there, Templars even.
Yeah, even Templars.
Even Templars
Not.
being really good. I've seen a Necro or two out there. It happens every now and then. But I think that's the thing that I'm really excited about, is that I'm seeing good results on a lot of different classes.
Yeah, totally. And I don't know, we've said it lots of times before, like DKs being strong and like near the top, that just to me seems to be an indicator of a healthy meta. That should be the case, like they have probably the best offense of any class, but when you think about what they're bringing to a team comp, that is all they're bringing. They have very little group support most of the
Yeah.
time. So I don't know. To me, they have to be melee. They don't really have ranged options. So like I feel like they really do need to be very, very good at what they do. And I think when people think of Dragon Knights, they're only comparing Dragon Knight's offensive potential to the offensive potential of, say, a Templar,
Yeah. Yep.
But that's not the only thing that the Templar has. Templar has a lot of other stuff going on there. And I think that is a factor that ZOS considers when they're making that. That's why Dragon Knights are so offensively more powerful than Templars, because they don't have the support capabilities that a Templar has.
Absolutely. They are the aggro of the BG for sure.
Yeah.
That's their goal.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great meta for Dragon Knights too. I mean, they were already doing really, really well before this update, but I think it's just a very accommodating environment for them. Like they have to be in that melee range at all times. So like whatever the CC situation is, they're the first ones to have to deal with it. Mm-hmm. So the fact that that's lightened up is really good for them. The Mara's Balm nerf, I think that's a big deal for them, because their dots aren't getting cleansed as often, which is pretty huge.
And I think it's good for the really extremely unkillable DKs out there. I think the Mara's Balm nerf is really good. It's not as as effective to make some of those DKs just unkillable.
As far as Wardens go, it's kind of the same for them. They're not able to crutch on Wall of Frost anymore, really, but they're still kind of that ultimate team carry kind of class. Like if you're the team, if your team is the one with the Warden and nobody else has one, then you guys just automatically win. That's just how that's going to go.
I will shout out Uncle Sam. I feel like his Warden is the perfect representation of.
Yes, it really is. I can't remember. I think he uses Frostbite, and I know he uses the Maelstrom Frost Staff. I can't remember the full build.
He's out there somewhere shushing us. But yeah, I mean, just 2 million heals, 2 million damage. Just 3 million damage. Like
he's getting he's getting like 2 million heals, 4 million damage.
That's true. I'm probably underselling it, but it's just the numbers just insane. Crazy strong heals for the team. Just AoE damage, all sorts of damage, just run around like crazy.
Yeah, like, oh, what does my class bring to the table? Oh, just 4 million damage, 2 million heals. What does yours bring?
But it does it in a way that like it works. Like it's 2 million heals, which seems crazy. Like you may have a healer on the team that hits 2 million heals and 100k damage, but it's kind of like an off healer role. Like the healing numbers are crazy, but it's not like these pinpointed strategic heals that are saving people right at the very second. It's just kind of a consistent flow of heals and support to the team.
Yeah, the way I think of it, it just kind of provides this foundation for the whole team to stand on. There's just sort of like this foundation of heals to stand on, and then the dedicated healer just has like an easier time with their job of like focus healing, And
yes, absolutely.
And then also like the AoE pressure that's constantly being dished out. He's kind of softening up those enemies for you, so when you lay into them, they're a little squishier, because they're already taking a lot of damage.
Absolutely. And I think me and you are both in agreement. That's kind of what a Warden, that's kind of the best spot for a Warden on a BG team.
Yeah, that's what it is. You want a dedicated healer, you want a Samden, like we're describing here, and then you want 2 just like extreme DPSs, like 2 Dragon Knights or something like that. And that's your team. And we've actually been doing a lot of sweaty pre-mades lately, like more than we ever have, I think. Like a ton, like every single night almost. We're like squatting up and we're going up against some sweaties, and it's been fun. We've tried all kinds of group comps, and that's pretty much the one that we've found is the best one. A Warden dedicated healer, this kind of Warden of Sam's that does a ton of damage and a ton of healing, and then
Yeah.
just two really, really strong DPSs. And that's the winning combo.
That's a great point. I didn't really think about that, but yeah, we probably are doing some of the like the sweatiest matches we've ever done.
Oh, yeah.
I hadn't really thought about that until you just made it, just told me about it.
Oh yeah, it's been nuts here lately. You know, I mean, for one, we'll talk about it later, but the Stoons Goons Guild has been kind of popping off lately. There's been a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of people that we've been playing with lately, but other guilds too, man. They're like kind of getting hype right now. Like everyone's feeling this awesome meta, and other like awesome
Absolutely.
squads are queuing up that we're not normally we haven't been seeing in a while. You know,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's just been so awesome. I'm not seeing as many sorcerers as I thought I was going to. I do see some,
Yep.
but kind of eating my words a little bit. A couple episodes ago, I was kind of warning everyone, like, "Hey, we're about to see, guys, get ready. Sorcerers are getting buffed. We're going to all be sorry." That hasn't quite come to pass. However, I will say I have ran into some sorcerers that I'm terrified of. That potential is there.
Oh, absolutely. And they're still getting kills just fine. Don't lose sleep worrying about sorcerers. They're just fine.
Yeah. And honestly, talking about pre-mades, some of the very best pre-mades I've seen have at least one sorcerer on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the ones getting most of the kills, and they have a lot of great support as well. So they're in great shape. The popularity just hasn't caught on quite yet. But like I said, the meta has a tendency to evolve over the course of a patch. So
Yeah.
that potential is there. I'm hoping that it kind of lays dormant, though. I really do, because a Sorc
Yeah.
meta is not fun.
That honestly, the thing is that, I mean, going back to just the meta feeling good is that I was really trying to think like, all right, like if I had to dig down deep for like some sort of like critique of the current meta, I had to go back to some like to the old classic. Like my only complaint right now is I'm back on the bus of we need to nerf Rush of Agony. That's
Yes.
I had to go that far back to find an actual complaint about.
Yeah,
the
like
current
what do
meta.
I have to complain about? Yeah, I have to like
Yeah.
remember what.
Yeah.
You have to go so far back. You're totally right. Yeah, Rush of Agony. That's what
That's
we need
the
to
one.
work on now. That's next.
That's the next step. We had to go all the way back to the classic.
Yeah. Well, there's some things we could do for Templars and Necromancers, I think, as well.
That's fair. That's fair.
But I was thinking a little bit about the Sorcerer situation and why they're not super popular. They got some pretty decent buffs, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if it has something to do with this new Mist form. And this is another thing I'm kind of eating my words on because just a couple episodes ago, I was just saying, like, this doesn't really compete with Mist form. Don't worry about it, people.
I'm right there with you. Total take back of our previous episode, right? Just
yes.
We have to eat our words on this one for sure.
You know, now that I've actually been using it in some BGs and I've gone up against sorcerers who they have streak and I have Mist form and they can't get away from me. They can't outposition me, you know, like I'm just right on top of them no matter what. It does compete with streak. It 100% competes with streak.
Yeah.
And, you know, just thinking about myself, like I have my Stamplar, Old Betsy, who's, you know, Templars are not designed to be a mobile class. They're designed to be a standard ground class. They have all this defensiveness and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And sorcerers, what are we always saying about sorcerers? Like they're supposed to be squishy. They're not supposed to have a lot of healing because they have that long range offense and they have superior mobility to everyone else. And that's their advantage. Then if you play a sorcerer, you have to play into that to take advantage of the strengths of the class. That's not really a strength they can lean on anymore. Like me on a Templar who's supposed to be slow and tanky, I can stay right on top of a Sorc no problem. They can't get away.
Yeah. And I would even argue, you know, I threw Misform on my Necro support build, and I've played around with that a little bit, but I would even argue that there's some perks to the Misform that are kind of like make it a little better than Streak. Like
in some ways,
there's a couple things it does that it's kind of nice.
I agree. The fact that you can control how far it goes, that's a nice thing because with Streak, it always happens where you streak to stun someone and then you end up past them and you have to run back to them, you know. This form, you can just point it right at their feet and just land right where they are. It's really nice.
I would even argue, you can tell me if I'm crazy on this, but there's like There's like a slight bit of control to it,
Yes,
like
there is. You can wrap around trees and stuff.
Yeah, you can get a little bit of wiggle with it. So
now I will say that I don't think that is the case with controller. We play with mouse and keyboard.
Oh, interesting.
But Uncle Sam was complaining vehemently about Mistform using a controller. When you enter Mistform, it locks your camera angle until you exit the animation. So you can't change your camera angle or anything, or your direction or anything. But if you're using mouse and keyboard, you can control your movement. You can also like point it, like you can kind of use it to like hop over rocks and stuff like that you wouldn't normally be able to get up on. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's great.
The projectile absorption is really awesome. The fact that you get major evasion and major expedition from one of the morphs, and the other morph is pretty good too with the damage and the healing. We've been all over it before. It's awesome. But the point is, like, whenever I play with my Templar, normally, like, oftentimes what pulls me away from my Templars, I'm thinking, you know what? I want to play with my Stamsorc. Like, Streak is just so much fun. I want to be quick and speedy.
Mm-hmm.
And man, that hasn't even crossed my mind. I have no desire. Like, I get that power fantasy on my Templar, who's my already my favorite character to play with. And I have all the advantages of being a Templar with all the team support and all the AoE and all that stuff, and the same sort of fun factor that I get from a Stamsorc.
Yeah, you're not going to want to hear this. I think you're going to be against it, but
okay.
Part of you, I think, will side. Part of you will understand. If I'm being honest, I think they need to take Mistform down a notch. Like it maybe needs a slight nerf.
Maybe like a cost increase.
I just feel like it needs to be a poor man's streak. Like, right? Like for the ideal place of what it needs to be a poor man's streak. And this initial Mistform, we thought it would be, but this initial Mistform it is right there equal with streak.
It's right there with it. And think of a long-ranged Beamplar, right? Like they already kind of compete with a sorcerer as far as like team comp goes. Like that's your executioner, right?
Yeah.
If you have a Beamplar with Mistform on the bar, it's just a reskin of a Sorc now. It's just like another flavor of Sorc.
Absolutely.
So I get like the Sorcs were all kind of coming into this meta. They were like, I don't know about this new Mistform. I don't like it. It's encroaching on my identity as being the mobile class. And I was kind of hand waving all that. I'm sorry, guys. I take it all back. I totally get it. I do totally get it.
You all were right.
Yeah. So the only classes we haven't really mentioned is Nightblade, and well, you kind of mentioned Nightblade, but I think Nightblade's actually in a really excellent shape.
Yeah.
They're not like taken over, they're not like everywhere, but when you see them, they're just always solid. I think they're just like really well balanced, actually.
Yes, exactly right. I think Nightblade's in a great spot right now. They're in a spot where Nightblades are out there and they're successful in ganks when they want to be. If that's the build setup they have, they're getting that done well. And there's a couple really, really great Nightblade brawlers out there that are doing great things.
Shout out to Wanna Buy My Dog, dude.
Ooh,
recent Stoon's Goon, member that joined us, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago.
Recent Goon, for sure.
Recent Goon, absolute monster brawler blade. I mean, he's a brawler blade. He does not use cloak, but he hits like a ganker.
Yes.
Like that's he's ganking you, but it's in plain sight,
But he's got eye contact with you the whole time.
Then we have our friend Slavka, who's also a Nightblade main, and he's like this total shapeshifter, like a million different ways to play a Nightblade, this guy. The class just allows for that. They have such a flexible toolkit. You can play them so many different ways.
Yeah, I'd 100% agree. They're in a great spot right now.
And then we have Uncle Sam, who has a classic, just straight up ganker, who's super deadly.
Yep. He's unhappy unless he hits you for a 20,000 damage hit.
So, Necros are probably in the worst shape. I don't see a lot of Necros, and I think they need some love. Man, I gotta be honest. I'm feeling so good about my Stamplar right now. Like I'm not even really complaining about Templars anymore.
You've just figured it out. There's a lot of leaning on Vampire, I will say.
That is true.
But maybe, if it works, it works.
Actually, that's a great point, though. Like, without Vampire, I probably wouldn't be nearly as stoked for the class. And I do think they still need they need some pizzazz, like Nightblade has some pizzazz to their class, like there's some like
Yeah.
cool stuff going on there. DK2, Warden.
They just kind of need some balance away from the beam. Like the
That's
beam is if the beam is kind of 90% and the jabs are 10%, they just kind of need that rebalancing of like get back to 40-60, like get a little bit more, take
Put it
some of
into
that power
Solar
from,
Barrage. I say put it into
yeah.
Solar Barrage. Like leave jab. I'm actually fine with jabs how it is. Like my jabs is like a 16, 17K tooltip. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's pretty
Solar
great.
Barrage is too weak. I think just let's take the beam down a little bit, put that power into Solar Barrage, maybe give snare removal to that ability. Hey, why not?
Yeah, a little something.
A little something. And then I'm happy as a Templar. Honestly, right there. We're done.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing about Templar. I think that they just need a little bit of like all of their points seem to be in beam. If you just kind of redistribute those points out just to see a little bit more diversity with the class, I think they'd be in great shape.
I agree. We already got that awesome everlasting sweep buff, so.
Ooh, everlasting. Thing lasts forever.
So that's basically our assessment of the meta. It's kind of a little mini BG report we did kind of there.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, it's great. I'm looking forward to kind of seeing how things continue to evolve. I'm looking forward to this new Arcanist class coming in a couple of months, and there's just a lot of good energy happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
We had our first and second BG party, aka the Goon Wars, as some people have started calling it. Super fun. So this happens Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. That's 8 Central. We're actually in Central Time here. Huge success, right?
Man, first of all, what an awesome first event. Second event was just as awesome.
Just as awesome.
Seriously can't say how fun it was. I mean, how great everyone was in having like good, fun, ongoing conversations while we're waiting in queue. People are joking around, they're talking, they're sharing build ideas, talking classes. It was extremely casual. There was a come and go atmosphere. People came in, hopped for a couple of games, then it was just a very cool come and go event. And everybody, it was, we even talked like halfway through, like, do you guys want to break apart into group chat? And everybody was like, no, like we're all going to stay in the chat together. We're going to stay talking, which made the BGs so much more fun. Because when you're hopping into BGs and there's this this communication, there was some fun trash talk, so much fun. And even the people that didn't even get the queues, they're watching streams, having a blast. And it was a real good trade-off of, these people got this queue, and then the other people got the next queue.
I think that's the magic ingredient, honestly, like that it's like not everyone is getting the queue at the same time. So there's always something to occupy yourself when you're not in a game, like the fact that people are streaming, like that gives you something to watch and gives you something to kind of comment on while you're waiting on your queue, that just kind of helps the vibe out a lot.
Absolutely. And I can't say enough. Like if you've never done a BG, if you only play BGs, like, it's fun for either person. Like, come join, just chat with the group. Like,
yeah,
it was just such a great event. Like, shout out to everybody that came and made it such a great event. It was so much fun.
Yeah, and it was such a casual thing, but at the same time, all excellent players. So it's like it's sweaty but also casual. It was perfect. And the way we do it is it's all duos. Everyone just gets paired up into duos, and if there's an odd number of people, then there will be one solo person that's joining the group queue with us.
Yep.
And we're just kind of randomly, like the first time we were just like, I don't know, everyone grab a partner. I don't care who, and then the second time I just said, okay, you and you, you and you, you and you, we're just kind of whatever, and it's great that way. It's really, and it's just like, okay, you can play a couple of games, then leave, then come back or whatever. And yeah, it's how we've always been playing, just kind of on a larger scale.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is I think people have enjoyed it so much that you don't have to wait for the Wednesday night event now. It's just every night of the week is that now.
It's just happening every single night now. The Wednesday night event was definitely the biggest one, but you're right. Like every night that we're hopping in, you hop in the Discord, there's a bunch of people on there queuing up for BGs and having a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's like, seriously, just any random night of the week, we have 5, 6, 7, 8 people. Just last night, which is nothing special going on last night, we had 2 full squads, 2 like well-optimized, good, sweaty teams in our Discord server queuing up and playing together.
So much fun.
Pretty darn cool. It's pretty amazing how in 2 weeks' time, our guild has become like a real guild. Like a totally
I know.
legitimate good guild.
It is like absolute transformation. It's crazy to think about.
Yeah, and well, we won't get into it. It's as a result of some unfortunate business, but it's like it's a blessing in disguise. Is what it's turned out to be. This is actually the best kind of PvP community I've ever been a part of, honestly.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. It has been really, and that's the part I can't stress enough is that I was almost having as much fun just hanging out with the group and chat as I was in the BGs.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. Chaos Ball weekend was a couple weekends ago. Actually, wasn't another. This is an episode full of us like taking things back that we said, but it wasn't actually all that bad. I didn't think.
I would say, like you said, not so bad, but I would say not so great either. I think the refreshing part to me was that it was not near as bad as it was last time. Like I was still happy when it was over, but it wasn't near as bad as it was last time. Like there was actually some fights. People were actually able to be killed when they had the Chaos Ball. I don't think there was any changes made from Zos's point. Like I don't think they changed anything, but the grab the ball and just not die until you get to 500 points. I don't know about you. I don't think I got any of those matches.
There were a couple of matches I got that it wasn't quite that, but it was a bunch of tanks,
Mm-hmm.
And that was, kind of annoying, but really the majority of the time it was fast queues and people, there were people that you could fight and have a chance of killing and had a pretty good time with it. It wasn't as bad as I was expecting at all.
Yeah. But we're going to get that deathmatch weekend again and it's coming.
Yeah, only like 6 months away. Shout out to Jorl, KDMS, Slavka, Uncle Sam, Exolion, Red Charm, King Nar, Wanna Buy My Dog. Probably left some people out, but that's just been a bunch of people that we've been playing with on just about a daily basis with all those people. It's been a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. I would just even give a shout out. Like it's been pretty cool to we've seen some, we've been in ESO a long time, and so we know some names that have been just great PvP players for a long time. And I don't know about you, but like it's pretty cool when you look up and you see those names in the scroll and like Discord. It's like, holy crap, like this is that great player that we've seen for years and years, and they're just in the chat talking to us. Like,
oh man, we have some excuse my language, we have some resident badasses in the guild at the moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's awesome. And they're like super cool people too. You know how a lot of times like these elite players are kind of toxic? Not the case with these guys, man. They're
Not
super
the case.
chill, so cool. And we'll go up against the sweatiest of the sweaties. We'll take them on, man. Like we're right there with them. When we have our best on a team, I don't think I'm necessarily part of that squad.
Me neither. I am absolutely not. But yeah. We'll root them on. We'll get those best goons together, and we'll root them on as we watch the stream.
Yeah. But I got some builds to talk about. Of course, old Betsy still is just the main squeeze, and is going to continue to be for a while.
Mistform sealed the deal.
Yeah, and a few other tweaks that I've made that have she's so dialed, dude. It's like right in there, just exactly perfect. The build is Wretched Vitality as a back bar set with a bow, Deadly Strikes as a double bar set, Black Rose Prison dual wield on the front bar. Finally got the perfected maces. Shout out to Exolion. He's the one that got the drop and gave it to me. Gaze of Sithis Mythic Helm and One Piece Magma Incarnate. It's a 5-1-1 medium setup with all well fitted. All 7 pieces are well fitted. And it's all gold except the jewelry. The jewelry is all purple. But I'm working on getting that jewelry gold. I think this build is seriously like fully gold worthy.
Somewhere out there, Mother of Dragons, shout out Mother of Dragons. She's approving of this all gold out build here.
She can't believe the jewelry's not already gold.
Yeah, she can't believe that you've waited this long. This is old Betsy. This is your main. This should have been golded day 2.
I've actually fully golded her a few times, but then, you change the build and it's like, I wasted all that gold and stuff.
It's tough. The market on jewel crafting is absurd.
I don't even bother.
It is just, it's gone through the roof. It's gotten insane.
Everything has, like tripods.
The tripods. Man,
let's not get onto it.
Just
We're
a
like
year
old people
ago,
here.
yeah, just a year ago, thinking it was to buy a 200 stack of tripods compared to now is I just you can't even
Yeah.
compare it. Can't even compare it.
And I think as more and more players come back to the game, that'll probably just continue to go up because more and more demand, you know.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree.
Um, the jewelry is it's all 3 bloodthirsty with weapon damage glyphs. Now, you can use weapon damage glyphs on a Templar now because they hybridize those glyphs, right? They give both damage types
Mhm.
now. I'm using the weapon damage glyph because they give you that little bit of extra stamina recovery, and I actually really like that. Last time I talked about Betsy, I was using the Steed Mundus. I've changed that to the Apprentice Mundus for more spell damage. I was kind of hesitant to do that because like a big part of Betsy has always been mobility and having lots and lots of movement speed, and that's kind of a big deal for her. But even without the Steed Mundus, she is still fully speed capped. When she has Major Expedition active, which she gets from the bow, and she's sprinting, then that combines with her Orc passive, her medium armor passives, and she's actually slightly over the speed cap when that's going.
And
Plus
let's be honest.
Misform.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's be honest. You got Misform now. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
you can
and
you can
Misform
make some
adds her
speed sacrifice.
absolutely. Misform adds so much mobility. Plus, I went 7 well fitted. Like I did only have 4 well fitted. Now I have 7 well fitted, and making it all gold. I went from 6 purple to 7 gold, and adding
Ooh.
3 more well fitted pieces. So I went from 19% cost reduction from sprinting and roll dodge to 42% cost reduction for sprinting and roll dodge. So it actually still feels like I'm very mobile. You know, I can hit that speed cap with all that well fitted. I can kind of put my foot on the gas pedal and keep it there for a while. Plus that mist form, I really don't feel like I've lost any mobility at all, honestly. And I've just gained damage.
Absolutely.
And so I mean, she has a ton of damage now, though. I mean, it's Wretched Vitality is the only non-damage investment in the build, right? It's all like the jewelry's all bloodthirsty with weapon damage glyphs. It's a damage Mundus. She has a 5-piece damage set. The Black Rose Prison dual wield gives you defense and offense. Even the Gaze of Sithis Mythic Helm, you know, you look at that and you think, oh, that's a defensive thing, right? It gives you health and armor and health recovery. But it actually gives you so much health that you can put all 64 points into stamina, every single one of them. Otherwise, I'd be putting like 30 points into health, you know, to get a good amount of health. So that's a ton of stamina. That translates to damage, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's actually, I've found like the Gaze of Sithis and the Black Rose dual wield is just such a nice like combination of things to have in a build because they're both giving you defense and offense. It's a very efficient investment there.
Yeah.
Really nice. Plus, she has major evasion. She's a stage 3 vampire. She's extremely tanky for being in medium armor, all well fitted. You know, bow and dual wield. She doesn't really play like a tanky build at all, but she actually is quite. People comment all the time that she's super hard to kill.
Oh yeah, yeah. You just don't get kills on Betsy. You just like we've talked about all these events. You know, we've with now we have this many people. You know, we duo all the time still, but we're on opposing teams now, and I usually see about 2 misforms, and then I'm like, I'm not even gonna try.
Yeah, that's the thing is she's got both types of defense. You know, like she can sit there and face roll and brawl right in the middle of the meat blender with the best.
And
of them.
I'm talking situations of it's me and 3 of my teammates, just Betsy, and it's like, nah, we're not gonna finish her off. Don't worry about it. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, she can kind of be up in the middle of it, or if we need to bail, she can do that too. I love that about her. That it used to just be the mobility was her only defense. You know, for the longest time, I had to play that way because she couldn't really face roll the way I had her built. But now she has both, and I haven't really ever had to sacrifice the mobility. It's just little tweaks over time, bit by bit by bit. We've just kind of made our way to this perfect build, honestly. I will say, I think a lot of people might think that it's weird using Black Rose Prison dual wield on the front bar. It's typically a back bar weapon. That's why I was so adamant on getting the perfected version, because it does give me that extra stamina recovery, which makes it more justifiable to have it on your front bar, you know?
Yeah.
She's that battlefield commander. She has that new mist form. I know we keep talking about it, but that actually goes into that Battlefield Commander sort of play style, like that sort of Johnny on the spot sort of thing that I try to do with her, and I've done it lots of times where I'll see a teammate of mine that's in trouble a little ways away. I'll mist right over to them. I'm like right there in a moment, and now I'm body blocking for them. I'm giving them a cleansing circle. I'm healing them up. I'm killing the person that was about to kill them, like total mama bear mode. That's what I love about Betsy, man. Like those moments like that. When I roll up on a teammate who's about to die and then I save them, kill the attacker, and then off we go, like that's ultimate Betsy right there.
The glorious Betsy moment right there.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. So yeah, I can't promise that I won't continue talking about Betsy in episodes to come. Because it's honestly like even after this podcast is over, I'm probably going to load up the game and just log in with Betsy and keep playing with Betsy.
There you go.
I do have a couple other builds I'll talk about here in a second, but Davius, why don't you take over for a little while? What's going on with Lord of Nords?
Well, speaking of builds that you just can't stop playing, like I don't know what the streak is, but I've talked about Lord of Nords quite a few episodes in a row. He's just, like you just said with Betsy, these are our two mains. They're in great shape right now. The meta's great. It's just hard not to log on with that character. It just feels good. All the things you said about Betsy, kind of the same thing with Lord of Nords. He is kind of feels very fine tuned. He's in a great shape. It's Oakensoul, 5-piece Ravager, 2-piece Bloodspawn, 3-piece Agility, and then 1-piece Trainee. And he is in a 5 heavy, 1 light, 1 medium. On the jewelry, I actually run 2 Bloodthirsty and then 1 infused for stamina recovery. Well, Lord of Nords just drinks stamina.
Mm-hmm.
And then
all those roll dodges.
Oh yeah, and then on the Mundus, I actually use the Serpent for a little bit more stamina recovery. And then same as you, Sugar Skulls and Tripods, the same as old Betsy.
Nice.
But it's just I'm just happy with where the build is because I'll be honest, he is not the strongest DK out there. Like absolutely not. Like if I go up 1-on-1 against some of the really really good players out there, like they're gonna beat me. They're gonna take me down. But he's just become such a good kind of just plug and play character for a group. Like he absorbs just enough damage for a group that he can he's great for body blocks. Like he takes a lot of hits. He absorbs a lot of blows. He leaps a lot, so he's just tanky enough, and he just provides enough pressure to a team that he just kind of helps out on both sides. Like, and that's kind of I'm very happy with him being that. Like, he is not an elite just gonna go and just overpower other players. One, I'm not a good enough player to do that, but he's just kind of works for exactly what I want him to be. He's just this really good team plug and play character. On most teams, you can plug him in, and he's gonna be a great addition to that team. I just think he's in a really great spot right now.
And I love how it's just like become this ongoing joke on the Discord server. Like, oh, here comes the leap. We're counting down in 3, 2, 1, and then sure enough, it happens.
I mean, mission accomplished. He's reached almost meme status with the leaps. Which has just really been my goal since day one with Lord of Nords. He is the Lord of Leaping. I think he's finally truly achieved that. He roll dodges and he leaps, and it's just he's hit that sweet spot where he's really fully achieved the title of the Lord of Leaping at this point. Mm-hmm. Shout out KDMS, Lord of Nords. He's gonna have a leap ready for you next time. I promise. Now I will say this, this could be blasphemy at this point, but I do think, we talk about kind of this really fine tuning the builds. I think if I really was to put in the effort, like if I really was to grind, I do think that I would make a slight change to the build. Now this would be quite the investment, but if I could have the dream version of Lord of Nords, it'd be the exact same setup, but I would probably swap out that Ravager set with the Coral Riptide set, in a dream scenario, the perfected Coral Riptide set. And really, that's just that would just be the premium setup because Lord of Nords, let's be honest, if people watch me play, I live at about 20% or less stamina an entire BG. Like, he just never goes over.
Coral Riptide's the set that it gives you 1 million damage based on your missing stamina or whatever.
It is 740 weapon damage for your missing stamina. and you get that 740 damage buff at 33% stamina.
That's basically full stamina for you.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, if I was being honest, like, full perfect setup, that Coral Riptide, I just think would be perfect on Lord of Nords. It's working great right now. Probably the reason for that is that I'm always at that low stamina. I've just kind of learned to play at that level. That's just where he's at. And that would kind of passively kick in. Where right now with that Ravager, I kind of have to throw the breaths out there to build up the stacks. And so I just think it'd just be a little bit more uptime on total damage rather than kind of trying to build up the stacks and then go offensive. So maybe one day. Maybe one day
we can get a group and farm at least the normal.
At least
version
the rig,
of it.
yeah. I mean, honestly, the perfected version, it's nice. It adds a line of crit chance, but just the regular version, I think, would be a huge upgrade for Lord of Nords. It would be a nice passive upgrade for sure. But he's in good shape right now.
We'll see if we can get a trial group together on normal. We could do it with just like randoms, I bet.
And I'll even say this is kind of the crazy side. So, Ravager right now is a 5-piece heavy, and the Coral Riptide would be a 5 medium.
Oh.
So quite the change there. But I think the trade-off there with exactly what you just said, better sustain. I think I might test the waters with Lord of Nord as a vampire.
And more damage too.
Well, that's the thing. It'd be more damage. I think I'd test the waters with Vampire, maybe get that that Undying passive.
Yeah.
And then the trade-off with Sustain would be pretty close. And honestly, like the Vampire Sustain hit, like when you're running Coral Riptide, like not the worst thing in the world.
That's true.
So I think that's probably how it'd balance out, where I think he could still be really tanky.
Ooh, that's the tweaks that need to happen, dude. Totally. What you said right there would just take him up several notches.
Yeah, I think that'd be the completed, perfect premium version of Lord of Nords.
All right, we're making it happen. Scrolledpodcast at gmail.com if you want to join our trial group.
Oh, man. Absolutely.
Nice, man. And you have some stuff for Bear Claw you're stammed in?
Yeah, we're gonna take a moment here. If we can dive into the theory crafting world here.
Okay.
We talk about Lord of Nords. Seriously, since this patch has dropped, I have only played a BG with Lord of Nords. Not a single other character. Like, it's only been Lord of Nords. I have tested out the Mistform with my Magcrow healer, but I actually haven't done a BG. I've just kind of played around with the movement of it. But I think the next character that I would dive into, Bearclaw of the Nords, my stamina warden. Bearclaw of the Nord. That's probably the next character I would go in. I actually currently love his current build. His current build is the point blank snipe build. Probably the most hilarious build I've ever built. So much fun.
It's hilarious how good it is.
It does work.
It's like probably the most hilarious part is that it's actually good.
It's effective. It gets the kills. The current build setup is Oaken Soul, 5-piece Swamp Raider, 2-piece Baylorg, the Vatishran point blank snipe bow, and then 2-piece trainee. And it's really just shocks and that point blank snipe and just unload. I switched the jewelry around. It kind of runs the same thing as Lord Nords. I actually do 1 infused with stamina recovery and then 2. Right now I have it as infused damage, but I actually need to switch those to the bloodthirsty. But I want to log on because I actually haven't tried this build with the new patch, and so I love that build idea. But there is potential idea of at least trying another build. I don't know if it's changing this build, but trying another build. Shout out Uncle Sam. Me and him, as we usually do, we got to talking one night, and we were talking theory crafting, and we kind of came up with this idea for this really cool bleed build. That the more and more I look at it, I've plugged it into the build editor. It just seems. Plus, it's Uncle Sam approved, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, you already know that it's going to be decent already. Sam just kind of has all the numbers in his brain. He can just kind of tell you already, like, yeah, that's a good build, or no, that's bad.
That's that internal calculator.
Yeah.
The build would be, if I do put this build together, the build would be Oaken Soul still, so it's still an Oaken Soul build. 5-piece Blood Drinker, and Blood Drinker is that set that is a 20% damage buff to all of your bleed damage abilities.
Yeah.
Master's dual wield for the weapon, 2-piece blood spawn, and that's for some ult recovery. And I'll get to that in a minute. 1-piece trainee, 1-piece druid, and that's to kind of really get the max health up. And really, what it is just a bleed dot build. The damage is rending slashes, growing swarm, which is a warden bleed ability, and then the dual wield ultimate, the thrive in chaos. And really, that thrive in chaos is kind of the sweet spot of the idea of this build. With the blood spawn, it would have shimmering shield on the bar, as well as the Oaken Soul, so it'd have minor and major heroism, which would allow high uptime on that thrive in chaos. That thrive in chaos, I'll just kind of go through it. It's a 30k dot over 8 seconds, so 30,000 damage over 8 seconds. You heal for 54% of the damage done on that, and it's an AOE, which is kind of crazy to think about.
That is
and then
nuts.
on top of that, everybody you hit with that, you get a buff for the duration of that ability, where you get 6% damage buff for all your damage for each enemy hit. Up to, I think it's, I'd have to double check that, but I think it's 6 enemies.
Okay. Still, it's huge.
Yeah. So just a crazy ability. I think it's probably not a super popular ability because most people use ults for kind of that finishing ability, and it's a dot, so it's not really that finishing ability.
It
But
sneaks up on you, though. I've been hit with it, and
Yeah.
like I didn't immediately die, so I just like, okay, whatever. And then I died a few seconds later, like wondering what the heck's going on.
Yeah, and it's that thrive in chaos. I mean, such a strong dot. It's giving you a great buff afterwards. It only costs 150 ultimate, which is, major minor heroism on a Nord. Like, that's going to be pretty easy to hit.
Yeah.
The radius on it's 15 meters, so pretty good range to hit a group. Really think that would be really good. As far as the heals on the build, and I'm going to give a shout out to Uncle Sam on this. Like, a lot more people need to look into this. This one snuck up on me. On the Warden heal, Arctic Blast gets kind of all the popularity, all the people talking about Arctic Blast. Look at the other morph of Arctic Blast. I would almost argue that it's better.
It's very good. Very good.
Polar Wind, that's the name of the ability. This ability is basically taking your
It's a burst heal and vigor in one ability.
Exactly. I mean, burst heal and vigor both in one ability, which on an Oaken Soul build, that's huge.
Yeah.
I'll just give you an idea on this build. I plugged into the build editor. It's a 12k heal, and then a 3k heal over time, 3,000 every 2 seconds for 10
nice.
seconds. Yeah. I mean, all in one ability.
And you can heal other people with that too.
Yes. Fantastic ability. So I highly recommend, if anybody's got some wardens out there, take a look at the other morph of Arctic Blast. Polar Wind, I think a lot of people are sleeping on that.
I think that morph scales off of max health too. So if you crank the health, that thing really gets nuts.
And then on the bar as well, Quick Cloak, we're using dual wield. So Quick Cloak, Major Expedition, Major Evasion. And then we have, we talked about, like I said, we'd have the Swarm ability on there for that bleed dot. But if the build needed more burst, you could absolutely throw shocks on there. But overall, I think this ability would do some pretty nasty stuff. It would be.
I've actually seen. I don't know if it was that exact build. I don't think it was, but I have seen a bleed warden recently that was really nasty. And if I hadn't been on my Templar, I definitely would have died. But I was able to cleanse it all off.
There you go.
But yeah, there's definitely something with that for sure.
Yeah. So I really do. I think I'll look into trying to potentially farm this build up, get some pieces. There's a lot of pieces to it that I don't have, but that may be something that I start looking into. Me and Uncle Sam have joked that one of us has to put this build together, and I think he's really pushing me to do it.
Something you forgot to mention though, another alternative for the ultimate, right? The bear.
Well, so exactly. So I was just about to get to the now. I've come up with the idea for the trolley version of this build, which is maybe more the Davius way, but
back to the yakety sax build.
Absolutely. So the trollier version, and this one didn't have quite the Uncle Sam stamp of approval, but Davius stamp of approval for sure. But what the trollier version of this build, which might be the way I end up going, is to swap out the blood spawn for Engine Guardian.
Gross.
Yeah, there you go. And then swap out the Thrive and Chaos for the Bear Ultimate that does the bleed damage. So you're still getting that bleed buff. That bear is still going to hit hard. And then you basically swap out that Master's Dual Wield for a bow with the Cutting Dive Warden ability. So you make the build ranged. And then I think probably you'd put Agility on there. There may be a arena bow that you could throw on, but I don't know. I don't know how that would necessarily fit on the slots, but yeah, I mean, just imagine how hard it would be to take this build down if you got Injured Guardian and the bear just always in the way. That could be
because they're both targetable. Injured Guardian like hugs you so close too, and that bear, man, that bear can be annoying. When you sick it on someone and you like make it attack someone, dude, it does not leave them alone. It will stay on them. That sucker is tanky too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's got some health. So, both options I think would be a lot of fun. Love the idea of getting a bear back on Bear Claw. I mean, come on. Love that idea. So
I do not like the idea of going up against that build.
The bear out there, the Injun Guardian, just throwing some bleed dots on there. I think that could be a lot of fun.
Actually, I think Betsy would handle that just fine because she's all AoE. So I just kind of close my eyes and spam in your general direction, and
well, plus you could cleanse all the mess off there quite a bit.
That's true too.
Templars would be good against it, but if you can't cleanse dots off there, but that's the thing is that build would be extremely tanky just because you're hitting me 33% of the time.
Yeah. I have two more builds to talk about. They'll be pretty quick. First one, or I guess second one, Intergalactic, my Magicka / hybrid sorcerer. His build hasn't really changed. It's Wretched Vitality back bar with the bow, Kvatch Gladiator front bar with the flame staff, 3 willpower on the jewelry, and the Stormweaver Cavort mythic pants. The Stormweaver, I've talked about it before. It kind of gives this character the defensive style of a Stamsorc, but on his front bar, he's 100% a Magsorc, like completely a Magsorc as far as his offense goes. I mentioned on the last episode that I was going to try morphing Crystal Frags into Crystal Weapon, the other morph, the Stamina morph, and try to use that as part of my combo because it's been recommended to me a few times. It is more damage, and I tried it for probably like a solid week. I had it on the bar, and I was giving it a good, honest try. It is a ton of damage. It really is a ton of damage, but man, it really is so much work. Like you're just constantly juggling this thing. We explained before how the idea is to weave it in between all of your other abilities, so it's always Crystal Weapon, Curse, Crystal Weapon, Fury, and on and on. And so I would find that I'm always missing out on opportunities to snatch kills because I'm like in the middle of this juggling act, whereas with my old Crystal Frags setup, I can be a lot more reactive to the moment. I just cast what I need to cast right when it happens. And, so I'm not missing out on those opportunities. It just feels a lot more natural. And I'm not like trying to manage this weird like mini game on top of everything, all the other chaos that's happening in PvP,
Yeah. Crystal Weapon's always been one of those abilities to me that exactly what you just described. Like on the build editor, in the tooltip, it's like, wow, look at these numbers. But it's like in the moment, I can never actually, I feel like I'm never bringing those numbers into the real moment.
It's too much work. I see people do it successfully. It can be done. And I did pull it off, and I got to a point where I was pretty decent at it, but it's not worth it. It's not fun. It's like, I like
it's a lot of work.
I like being able to just kind of react to the moment a lot more and not having to preload this thing all the time. So that's where I'm at with it. I think Crystal Frags is still a great morph to use. I think a lot of people will try to convince you like, you got to use Crystal Weapon. That's the meta or whatever. And, technically I guess that's true, but I honestly get more kills with Crystal Frags. So that's all I really have to say about the Sorc. And then I've been picking up my Bowcrow a little bit here lately, Bobby Bobango. I just kind of logged in with him randomly the other day just to kind of change things up. And I just was kind of reminded like, man, this dude's awesome. This is actually a really great build.
No change needed.
Yeah, well, I actually did end up making a few tweaks, but not really anything major. So the gear is exactly the same. It's an Oaken Soul build, a single bar build. So it's Oaken Soul, Swamp Raider, Morag Tong, and One Piece Magma Incarnate. So it's all about poison and disease damage, kind of like your old Bear Claw build, right, Davius?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So a few tweaks that I've made. So I made the jewelry all bloodthirsty, so it's not swift anymore. And then I switched him to the Steed Mundus to get that movement speed back. I switched to the Jewels of Misrule food instead of the Sugar Skulls. So his max stats are a lot lower, but he has a lot higher sustain for Magicka and Stamina. And basically the reason I wanted to do that is because, so I was using a Sustained Mundus before. I switched to the Steed, so I lost that Stamina sustain, so Jewels of Misrule gives me that Stamina sustain back. But it also gives me an equal amount of Magicka sustain, and I have that Resistant Flesh burst heal, which is my one and only Magicka ability. But having that amount of Magicka sustain actually makes me a pretty effective, like, off healer when I need to be, even though it's just that one ability. Since that's the only Magicka ability, and I have a pretty good amount of Magicka recovery, I can spam it quite a bit actually, and I save teammates quite a lot, even though I'm absolutely not a healer at all. So I like that. I like that little change.
Yeah.
Probably
I have
lost him. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just because I have noticed that I was very surprised with this build how much of like it could switch to support if needed. I was impressed with that.
Yeah, and that it's all a single bar, so there's never a moment when you're like caught on the wrong bar. If you need to save someone, you can attack an enemy in one moment, heal a teammate the next moment, go right back to attacking someone, and your buffs are always active. You're never bar swapping. You're just always ready for anything that happens. It's pretty cool.
Hey, you don't got to sell me on Oaken Soul.
But yeah, so switching to that Jewels of Misrule food, my max stamina is a lot lower, so that's a damage loss. But I did switch to Bloodthirsty Jewelry, which is a gigantic damage gain. So I come out quite a bit further ahead in that case. The offense, remember, it has to all be poison and disease damage. So it's Blast Bones, Venom Skull, Magnum Shot just for the stun, and then the Toxic Barrage ultimate.
That's the cherry on top right there.
Oh yeah, that's what it's all about, is that Toxic Barrage ultimate. And it's a really easy combo. Basically, all I do is I just kind of soften targets up with Blast Bones and Venom Skulls. I just kind of toss a bunch of those at them. And then when they start getting fairly low on health, maybe 60, 50% health in that range there, then I summon one last Blast Bones, then I stun them with the Magnum Shot, and then I open up the Toxic Barrage ultimate on them. Almost everyone dies to that. Even super tanky DKs, almost everyone dies to that. If they survive it, then you can just continue pressuring them as soon as that ultimate is over, because they have that super duper strong lingering dot that it leaves on them. And a lot of people aren't even aware that ultimate has that dot on it. I think most people, in fact, are not aware of that. So if they don't die to the actual channeled like animation, just keep pressuring them after it's over, and they almost certainly will die after that. That's the thing that makes that ultimate so good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Vigor and Resistant Flesh are the only heal abilities, and that's all you need. That's plenty. You get Major Expedition from the bow. I'm a wood elf, so he's pretty speedy. His survivability is surprisingly really good. Oaken Soul's giving you a bunch of really nice buffs as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just anytime I think about it, I'm always surprised at how well-rounded of a build it is for being so compact and simple.
He's got all the pieces he needs.
Mm-hmm. Also, shout out to my friend Gary, and he pointed this out to me with the Morag Tong set. It's actually a really good idea to use this set in like a bow duo, where like only one person is wearing this set. So Morag Tong, the 5 pieces, when you deal direct damage, you cause the enemy to take 10% more damage from poison and disease attacks for 5 seconds. So that's all sources of poison and disease attacks. I deal direct damage to someone, and now they take 10% more poison and disease damage from everyone.
You know what we need to do is we need to get old Bobby Bobango and the Point Blank Snipe.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a nice little duo right there.
You had a poison-based Bowcrow not too long ago too, though, right? Like we could do that maybe?
Yep. The two Bowcrows would be great as well. Absolutely.
So another thing, though, that my same friend Garion pointed out is the Asylum Bow. which it affects Aerospray, the Aerospray ability. When you hit someone with Aerospray, I think it makes them have like 6,000 or 7,000 less resistance against all bow attacks from all sources.
Ooh.
So that's the move. You do a duo of bow builds. One person is wearing Morag Tong, the other person is wearing the Asylum Bow, and now you're both benefiting from that.
Man, that'd be nasty.
And then you just do whatever else in your build. You could wear like two buff sets to kind of buff each other up if you wanted to, and then the other set is selfish sets. You could have a really awesome little bow duo there that you're like super messing people up with.
Do like a rallying cry on one of them.
Yeah, like Rallying Cry. I think Garion suggested Rallying Cry and what's that one that you use? Powerful Assault.
Powerful Assault would be good.
One person use Rallying Cry, one person use Powerful Assault, and then each of you just choose your own other 5-piece that's damage or whatever you want, and you got a pretty awesome little duo there.
That'd be a fun little setup for sure.
Yeah. So shout out to Gary and thanks for the duo idea. We've been continuing on with our weekly Black Rose Prison runs on Veteran. We got our runs down to 50 minutes. I believe the speed run achievement is 40 minutes, so we're almost there. I got my perfected maces, like I mentioned earlier. Shout out to Axolion. He's actually the one that got the drop. And he actually wants the perfected maces also, but he was like, you know what? I don't actually have a build in mind yet for these, and you do, so here you go. I'll get mine later. So, total bro move. Thanks, Axolion.
Pretty awesome right there. Shout out Axo for sure.
But you'll definitely get them. We're planning to just keep running it. Like even now, like that I got mine, I'm just going to keep doing it. I'm actually really enjoying doing it each week. I've been looking forward to it. So we're just going to make sure that everyone in the group all has the weapons and everything before we stop. And
that's awesome.
I bet we will have all the achievements and everything by then because we're getting better every single time. It's pretty cool actually because we were so intimidating. I mean, you remember me saying that first run took 7.5 hours for us to get through.
That's a long run.
We were so intimidated by it, and now we're carrying people through it. We've taught like 2 or 3 different tanks how to get through it and stuff. Like people we've picked up in Craglorn because we want to run it, but our tank has to work today, so let's find someone new and we'll teach them how. And we feel we're kind of patting ourselves on the back, like, oh yeah, we'll just drag any old tank through Black Rose. We'll get through it.
Oh, that's awesome.
But actually, it's not. You can't do it with any old tank. I shouldn't say that because it's actually
don't give people false hope.
No, yeah, it's actually particularly challenging for the tank that plays. So I'm always super impressed with any tank that's able to get us through the end. We also did my same PvE partner Axolion, he's actually really good at PvP too. But we've just been doing a lot of PvE together. We also did the new dungeons on Veteran. I remember saying last time it seemed like those new Veteran dungeons were pretty tough. Turns out if you have a decent group, not that hard.
Got through no problem, huh?
Yeah. Maybe a few small problems, but it really wasn't that much. It was like just the right amount of challenge, honestly. Just enough to make it fun. And those really are super cool dungeons. I really enjoyed them. Scrivener's Hall is all about like books. It's like a big like labyrinthine library, and it kind of looks like Apocrypha. It looks like there's elements of that in there. And then Balsonar is like lots of weird time bendy. A lot of time travel stuff happening in that one. Really cool. Really, really cool, that one. Balsonar.
I actually have officially started farming for my PvE heavy attack build. I actually have I got one full set already.
Nice, dude.
Got a couple pieces of the other one. So it's slowly being pieced together.
You know what's funny is that is totally a functional PvP build also.
We're seeing that, right? Like some people are taking into PvP and it's like, man, what the heck is hitting me so hard? And it's like, oh, it's the PvE heavy attack build.
It's annoying until there's like 3 or 4 of them and then it's actually a problem.
Yes, then it's like actually like, oh gosh.
Yeah. But yeah, both of those 5-piece sets, it's Sergeant's Mail and Stormmaster, they both apply to players. So the only thing you're missing in PvP is the Empower. So that's just not in the equation, but it still hits pretty hard, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'd probably want to change your skill bar loadout a bit, for PvP, but still.
Oh, yeah.
we have some emails. If you'd like to send us an email, scrollandpodcast@gmail.com is the place to send the email. Every episode we give some lucky emailer a gold prize, varying amounts each time. But from now until we hit episode 100, it's going to be 1,000,000 gold for whoever Davius chooses. It's all on Davius.
All the pressure. All the pressure.
So scrollandpodcast@gmail.com is the place to send that. Our first email comes from Full Trap, and his subject says, "The new meta, no, I don't want your gold." So actually he is declining the gold prize.
Look at this. I'm already tempted. No, I'm just kidding.
So Full Trap says, "Greetings, Scroll and Podcast family and friends, longtime listener, first time caller. Being a resident of the Down Underverse, I'm not able to listen in live, but I absolutely love the show and the community you guys have built around it. Best guild PCNA."
All right.
Heck yeah, brother. My question is to do with the developing meta build for this patch. Lots of relatively low health, mainly DK Templars that are extremely damage resistant and have massive offensive potential. I'm not able to identify what sets they may be using for this, but it's definitely a trend. Skills look about the same minus Mist Form, but while tankiness seems down in general, the lower health targets suddenly have this extra spiciness. Interested to hear your thoughts. Warm regards, Full Trap. So, my first thing is I don't think I've actually had the same experience as you, Full Trap. I don't think I have noticed this trend, but I'm gonna keep my eyes open going forward and see if that's something I do start noticing. But I totally believe that you are having that experience. Maybe we're just probably playing different modes of PvP or whatever. But I have some ideas of what might explain it. But Davis, why don't you go first? What do you think about that?
Well, I just think it goes into exactly what we kind of talked about earlier, that right now with this meta, there's a lot more, finally, even I would say there's a reward for going more damage and less tankiness. In the previous meta, the whole meta was make as tanky as you possibly can. Like that just was the meta. Like there was no it wasn't worth the investment in damage because you weren't going to kill people, and the damage payoff wasn't going to be able to take people down. And I think this meta is in a great spot. I think that the damage now does have a payoff. If you invest in that extra damage, you're going to get more kills out of it. And so I think that's just a result directly from the meta. People are taking away from that tankiness, investing in these new, skill changes. We talked about the Major Berserk. I think people are starting to invest in more damage, and you're seeing kind of less health, less tankiness, but they're getting a lot more results from that. As you said, Full Trap, like you're not quite able to identify what sets. And I would even argue that like it potentially may be a multitude of sets. It just kind of goes back to that. There's a lot more people investing in damage right now with a lot of different builds out there. And so I think that's why you're seeing maybe lower health bars and more damage rather than what we were previously seeing.
Yeah, it's basically the same answer as me. I think if you like playing glass cannon builds, it's a pretty good time to do that. It's a pretty friendly atmosphere for those kinds of builds. If you just want to crank the damage as high as you can. Nightblades have been doing that for a long time. Run like 22, 23k health and just put as much damage into the build as they can. Like Uncle Sam, I'm pretty sure his Nightblade is like that. And now that you have Mist Form, everybody has a get out of jail option.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of easy to pull that off, or easier to pull that off on any class now. And DKs and Templars, that's a great example. They're prime, candidates to take advantage of a new mobility tool.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep an eye out for those kind of glass cannon type of builds popping up, because I haven't really noticed them so far. But like I said, the last couple of weeks, we've basically just been queuing up for like super ultra sweaty pre-mades where a 22k health just can't exist in there, but I'm going to keep an eye out for that and see. But that's probably it. It's just a really friendly meta for glass cannons, and so they're just starting to pop up.
Yeah, and I think in the previous meta, just glass cannons were non-existent. I think that's a great point you make. Is that it just wasn't the meta for glass cannons, and now there's a lot of players that prefer that play style, and we're actually to a meta where it's effective again.
Yeah, that CC is a lot more under control, and mist the new mist farm. Like those two things combined, I think are probably big factors there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like you were saying, the damage incentives that have been added to the game as well. So there you go, Full Trap. Thanks for writing in. Always good to
Yeah.
hear from you. Next email comes from our good buddy Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam says, I have concerns for the ability of new PvP players to get into the mid game, i.e., becoming moderately competent and enjoying frequent PvP. Hot take: ESO PvP has a large skill gap that can take a very long time for some people to close. Proc sets that did not scale of the Elsewhere era gave me the boost I needed when I first started to really get lots of effective in-game combat to help me learn quickly and get into enjoying PvP. I believe the current state of PvP is more difficult to get into the PvP mid-game than when I started. My question is, do you guys think there is any concern or is it just me? What roadmap would you recommend to follow to a new PvP player to join the PvP mid-game? Thank you. Please give me money. And Kingnar still stinks. That was a mouthful. Davis, why don't you take a crack at that one? What do you think about players getting into PvP mid game?
Yeah, so I'll start. I think that I actually, at the risk of going against the great wise Uncle Sam, I actually would I would probably slightly disagree. I think that me and you talked about this a little bit, but the proc set scale of the Elsewhere era that Sam joined in on was a rough era. I think me and you both probably agree Uncle Sam is underselling his unbelievable PvP skills here.
I don't know if it's underselling or just like it's like a case of he doesn't know his own strength, Like,
he doesn't know how good he is. But
yeah,
I would say that I think that maybe in the previous meta, absolutely it was a struggle for new players because in my opinion, anytime where it's a tanky meta, absolutely difficult for new players to come in because they're going to come into those BGs in the beginning tier, even the mid tier, and they're not gonna know that tankiness, and so those tanky builds are just kind of eat them alive because they're not gonna have that tanky level. But I think any meta that brings in more damage and easier to kills, like I don't know, I don't know about other players, but for me, even if when I was new in PvP and coming into BGs and not having good scores, like a 3 and 10 or a 4 and 10 score, I felt much better about than like an 0 and 5. Like if I get no kills and just get deaths, that was much more demoralizing to me than when at least I could go in there and have a lot of deaths, but at least I got some kills. And I think this meta is leading us down the road where these early game, mid game players are actually still getting kills because there's still some damage out there. And so I actually would say that I think we're going down the correct road where this is actually slightly getting better.
Yeah. My take is maybe slightly different. It's similar, I think, ballpark, but slightly different. The era that Sam's talking about and Elsewhere, so that's back before they made proc sets scale off of your offensive stats, right? The proc sets would just deal the same amount of damage no matter what build you put it on, so you didn't actually have to have good offensive stats to deal a ton of damage. And also 25% Malacath existed then. So the meta was where 3 or 4 proc sets and Malacath and just close your eyes and spam a gap closer and rack up the kills.
That was a meta of just everybody was dying. Yeah, everybody was dying.
And I don't think many people were really aware of what was killing them a lot of the time. I think you're right that Sam kind of underestimates his own skill as a player in that situation. I don't think a lot of other players were having, like new players were having that same experience. Because that was something, I remember at that time, we were talking a lot about the volatility of the environment, where, you just approach a fight and you're already struggling for your life and no one's even aware that you're there. No one's even targeting you. It's just the environment is hostile towards you. And so, because there's all these proc things just popping off and they all deal a ton of damage and all this stuff. I thought that was maybe the worst possible meta for a brand new player getting into PvP. You step your foot on the ground and like 16 visual effects happen and you die and you don't even understand what even happened. There was no learning taking place, no opportunity for learning taking place there at all. I do like high damage metas, but I like it when there's intentionality behind that damage and you can see the things that killed you. You can put the pieces together in your brain. I think we're kind of closer to that right now, actually. There's some pretty good damage builds out there. The very best builds out there, the ones that are dealing the most damage, mostly are using their abilities to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great point.
So I think right now is a pretty good time for new players, honestly. That's my take.
Yeah, I think we're on the same boat with that. I would say it's a good time for new players with potentially with the direction they're going to get better.
The CC being toned down, the kind of the damage versus the tankiness sort of dichotomy is in a little bit better shape. Most classes have good build options out there. You can do a little something. Necro maybe, not so much. So yeah, there you go, Sam. You're wrong. All right. Well, I guess there's just only one possible winner. Those are only two emails.
Let me think on this for a minute. Let me see if I can figure out who. No, I'm just kidding. Uncle Sam, $1,000,000 gold coming your way.
Thank Full Trap.
Yep. Shout out Full Trap.
Shout out to Full Trap for giving a free $1,000,000 to Uncle Sam.
Happy to give you the $1,000,000, Uncle Sam.
Coming your way, buddy. I'm writing it down right now. Uncle Sam, even though he's not in the chat to even hear.
Yes. Sorry, Sam. We actually implemented a new.
You actually do have to be present to claim.
You have to be present to win. We just started that this episode.
Like just now. Like as we said it started.
We just started thinking like maybe we should implement this.
You'll get your $1,000,000. Scrollingpodcast@gmail.com if you'd like to send us an email. Doesn't have to be Elder Scrolls related, and the emails don't have to be this elaborate, by the way.
Look who just joined in. Looky there.
Oh, hey,
who
buddy.
just found their way.
I want to buy my dog. Thanks for joining, fellas.
Yeah.
We just got done reading your email, Sam, and you won, buddy.
Uncle Sam is the winner.
It had nothing to do with the fact that you were the only option, so don't worry about it. But yeah, what we were just saying though is the emails they don't have to be like this big elaborate thing. It could just be like a simple question, like I don't know, what's your favorite kind of sandwich or whatever. It doesn't necessarily have to be ESO related, or even if it is ESO related, it can just be a short, simple question, and you still have a chance to win some gold there.
Absolutely, you send an email, you got a chance to win.
Yep. We have a guild. The guild's name is Stoons Goons. Literally, hold on, let me see if I can get this.
Oh yeah,
we got a new catchphrase here. Literally the best PvP guild in the game that also happens to be the best named guild on the PCNA server. It's also the official guild of the Scrollin' Podcast. If you'd like to be a member of Stoons Goons, you can email us at scrollinpodcast@gmail.com and we'll send you an invite. Like we mentioned earlier, we had our first official guild events. They've been a huge success. They've been a lot of fun. And even outside of those events, almost on a nightly basis, it's a party in there. We're having a great time. So Wednesday nights, that's the BG party night. Duos and solos are basically how we're doing it. And we have some guild hall upgrades as well. You got the vampire stuff, right?
Oh, this is true. Yeah, we got the vampire. We got the gear, the vampire gear, and
perks of the guild.
The guild hall. That's right. We got. That's true. We got the raid boss. We got some Mundus stones. We got the vampire stuff. We're getting official.
If you'd like to support the show, one easy thing you can do is you can go to the Apple Podcasts app, find the show on there, and give us a star rating, and even better, a written review that helps us appear higher in the search results when people search for relevant keywords like Elder Scrolls or things like that. So Apple Podcast app specifically is a place to go if you'd like to do that. If you'd like to go a step further and help us in a bigger way, you can go to patreon.com/scrollinpodcast and receive Stoons Boon for $3 a month. That gets you some extra Discord benefits, which allows you to listen to us record the episode live like we're doing right now. You get a guaranteed individual shout out on every single episode. I do the Booncast, which is a little mini episode on the off weeks, so you get something every week. We have videos, written build guides, and the greatest gift of all is knowing that you're helping cover the costs of doing the show, possibly even helping improve the quality of the show in the future. So that's patreon.com/scrollingpodcast. If you can't do Patreon right now, then just come on over to the Discord. That doesn't cost anything. We have the best PvP community in the game, scrollingpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to have you.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to the chat. What do we got? Uncle Sam, want to buy my dog, KDMS, and Jorl right at the very end, guys.
Heck
Just
yeah.
perfect timing. Just in time to get that shout out. We're on to you. We're on to you, guys.
We see what's going on here.
You're sending it for the shout outs like everybody else.
It's all about the shout outs.
They're always after me shout outs. Actually, I was literally going to give you guys a shout out anyway. Shout out to Jorl, Uncle Sam, KDMS, Slavka, Axolion, King Nar. We've all just been playing together a ton here lately. Want to buy my dog? He's in there as well.
Absolutely.
It's just been a blast playing with you guys, seriously. Shout out to the Elder Goons, the OGs. Thank you for being around for so long, guys. I really appreciate it. And shout out to our Stoons Boon recipients, Pork Body, Toadster, Gummy Bear, Grizzly Con, and Thomas. Thank you so much, guys.
I love that Thomas comes in with just the simple name.
Just Thomas. He doesn't play
Thomas.
ESO.
Yeah, he just came in right on the. He said, "You know what, Thomas? That's his tag."
He doesn't have a username because he doesn't play ESO. He's just my friend, and he just signed up to be supportive.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah. Anything else before we go?
I don't think so. Just excited to see all these goons and some BGs.
Yeah, we're about to do some right now. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.